Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of PreMarket Prep. Happy Monday. Hope everyone enjoyed their Mother's Day yesterday. Got some time to spend with my family yesterday. Came back from Los Angeles last night. Look, the story for, during COVID, past couple years has been people are leaving California in droves. It sure doesn't feel like it in LA because the traffic is still bad. The planes were packed. Everywhere we went was packed. There were waits everywhere. So, I mean, look, again, we're going to talk some airlines today. Airport was absolutely packed, so did some boots on the ground investigating, and we've got a lot to talk about today. GameStop, Roaring Kitty is back, officially back. We'll talk about that. We've got some things to cover in the Apple AI news. And we have a special guest today, 8:35, Anthony Scaramucci. The Mooch will be joining us, talking about his new book, what's going on in crypto, Skybridge Capital. So I'm excited. Let's get the show on the road. Welcome to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep.
This is a volatile puppy here.
It's all about execution styles and strategies.
Alrighty, Easy Mike's asking how was it? It was great. I mean, it was in LA for my brother's college graduation. Very proud of him. It was good. It was good to spend some time with family. Weather obviously is always beautiful in Los Angeles. Good to be back though. Let's go ahead and bring Joel Elconin in, and we'll talk. We'll see what's going on in the charts. Joel, how you doing this morning?
Good, AB. Good to have you back after the travel. We had a fun show on Friday. We could tell you about that. We're in the green by 13.25 handles, right up near last week's high. We have the buck down only 7 cents at 105.10. TLT quiet, just staying around the $90 area, up 22 cents. Crude in the green by 56 cents at 78.82. Gold down 25 bucks, 25.20. Silver going the same way, not as much though. Let's call silver flat, 28.49. And Bitcoin, that's up $2,165. It's 63,115. Let's bring in Triple D and let's get the breaking news out right away.
The breaking news is I wore a collared shirt today.
That is the breaking
news. You're wearing
news.
a collared shirt. That's
yeah, look how
news.
nice I look.
The other breaking news is that PreMarketPrep.com had their annual meeting over the weekend.
Oh.
It was attended by Lisa and Harry. And Dennis, besides coming over to the annual meeting, why did you come over to the States?
Oh, you want to show the dartboard? Do you have the tweet of the dartboard? There it is.
Yes.
I got it all set up. My new dartboard. I always like darts. I always like shooting darts. And when we were in Florida, I was with my brother-in-laws and my cousin, and we were playing this game at the bar, and I'm like, that game is awesome. I want one of those for my bar. Call the manufacturer. They don't ship to Canada. I was like, I'm like, okay, Joel, I'm sending you something, and it's pretty big. Meanwhile, anyways, obviously, so I got it, went down there, had dinner with you guys, it was fantastic. Saw Perry, 16-year-old dog. She likes eating, we'll say that. And then we had dinner, which was good. Brought the dartboard back, set it all up, played a little bit last night. It's fun. Darts are fun.
Well, so wait, I have a couple thoughts on this, but what was so fun about Friday's show? Was it just because I wasn't here?
Oh, sorry about that, Friday. Joel's like, wait a second here, AB says. Just because I wasn't here, it was fun.
You guys got to have fun? Yeah, wait, what was going on Friday?
I want to say something. I set my Apple alarm clock this morning, and it didn't go off.
Okay, thank you.
I swear, don't use the Apple alarm. I'm like, it's 7:32. I set it for. It's like I slept in because I was up late watching the other game. I'm like, I'm gonna sleep in here.
I know.
I was up at 6:30, and then I'm like, I'm just getting up here at 7:30. So I was up for a little bit. I checked the phone. I was like, I'm gonna go back to sleep for half an hour, get a little bit of rest before the show here, and it didn't go off. I'm like, you're right, AB. This was not AB's fault. AB, all's forgiven. This was not your fault.
So my thoughts on the dartboard. I like darts is one of those things that I have randomly found out that I'm very, very good at it. Like And if I'm ever at a bar with a dartboard, like I can hustle people. I'm pretty good, but I don't love the electronic dart. Like I like the real cork boards and stuff. So Dennis,
Yeah.
is this like a good electronic? Like will I like be?
These are the best. This is made by Aracta. They've been making them for 50 years, and it plays nice. They're lighter, like when you're throwing, the soft tip darts. They're a little bit lighter, so you got to throw them a little bit harder. Like I played
Okay.
darts, and not that I'm a great player or anything, but I played for a long time, and I agree. And what I thought was, I'm going to get a regular dartboard, put in the bar, and then I'm like, well, my boy likes, darts. He's 9 kids. I'm like, it just works out, soft tips. If somebody misthrows a dart, it's not like 1 going through the wall or 2 going through somebody's head. So they're a little bit safer, but they're fun. I mean, it's fun. When you play soft tip darts, everybody will say, oh, I want the real thing. I mean, it's fun. Like the soft tip darts are fun. There's leagues, there's online leagues you can play. It's going to be fun. I'm pretty excited.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll have to come check it out at some point whenever whenever the government will let me get a new.
We'll get you up here. I won't let you hustle me.
All right, but Dennis, real quick, let's get it out of the way. I mean, what happened in the game last night? Because I was watching it on the plane. At one point, the Oilers had 38 shots and the Canucks had 16, but the Canucks were winning 4-2. Was the Oilers goalie just that bad?
That's what the whole series has been about. Skinner has been absolutely terrible. This is what happened last year with Edmonton against Vegas. They went with Skinner, and Skinner just was terrible in that Vegas series, and they lost basically because of the goalie. Well, they did it again. Same goalie, didn't change it, and they're doing it again here. They're losing because of the goalie. Team playing well, goalie terrible. So I don't even know what to say. They don't really have a backup. So, I mean, they have Picard, but he's like a journeyman minor leaguer. He played just one period last night, was first NHL playoff game. So, I mean, it's tough to go with somebody that's never played an NHL game, especially in a game 4, but there's controversy here now. I mean, maybe you got to switch it up. Need good goaltending. They just need average goaltending because the team is that good.
Well, but here's the problem with that is I think if you build a team and say, okay, we have a really good team and an average goaltender, it feels like the playoffs always comes down to
goaltending.
Whatever goalie's playing the best. I mean, you've seen like I remember when the Boston Bruins went on a run with Tim Thomas back in the day and won. He was just playing out of his mind. When my Blues won, it was because Jordan Binnington.
Yep.
And there's a lot of reasons, but Binnington played out of his mind. And I mean, so again, like if I was the GM of a hockey team, I'd want the best goaltender going into the playoffs. The last thing, and we'll move on from sports right here. The last thing I'll say on the sports talk is yesterday. I don't know. I mean, I know we got some golf fans in the chat. Jay Rice, Rory McIlroy's performance yesterday was absolutely unreal. Just like watching greatness. Like it felt like, and I had a
358-yard drive.
It's unreal. I mean, and then he
that's almost as far as you can drive, Joel.
Yeah, 357 is my best.
he eagled the first par 5 on the back, and then he holed out from the bunker when he already had like a 3-stroke. I mean, it was just unreal. Not the best Mother's Day activity to be watching golf, but I was kind of following while it was going on while I was with my mom. But all right, guys, let's get back to stocks. Joel, I see you've got.
We got to show the tweet. I mean, the whole thing. Yeah. The story of the morning and the story from last night is going to be GameStop. And, the headline that you wrote, are they back? Is it back again? This is the tweet. This is all he tweeted. He hasn't tweeted for 3 years, Roaring Kitty. And this is what he tweeted last night. And that was it. Doesn't even say GameStop in it. Just a person just sitting up. And that's enough to drive GameStop up 32%. It is a crazy time we live in here, folks. That somebody just tweets out, oh, I'm sitting up. And we know backstory obviously was this was the person, deep value, who got everybody interested in GameStop, and then it exploded from $2 or $5 to $300. So we know, what the reasoning was behind it. This was the reason, this person, Roaring Kitty. So he just tweeted again, just right now. So that's got the memesters are all fired up here this morning. They're all fired up. We talked about this GameStop. I called this, back when Carvana got started. I was like, oh, this is starting to, it was looking perky. And then Carvana came out and obviously popped big time. Like, well, if the memester trade starts going, GameStop could start going. And it did. And now it's $23. It's more than doubled from, just a week and a half ago here. Unbelievable move. Unbelievable games. So couple thoughts. One, I don't like chasing stocks. It's hard to chase this thing. But just be careful. If you're short any of those high short interest stocks or those meme stocks, they're going to be ignited by this morning, folks. Like GameStop up 34% is going to start making people interested in other stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, credit where credit is due, Dennis. You did call this, last week, saying if Carvana, is moving again, watch out for the other meme stocks. I
Yeah.
do have a list here from Quiver Quantitative, who Quiver Quant, which does really good work. I've talked to the guys,
Okay.
had them on the show before. I've got a list of I don't know exactly what metrics they're using to find the biggest meme stocks right now. So obviously you have AMC up there, Marathon, SoundHound, B. Riley, Spirit Airlines. I mean, anything
They're all up.
yeah, anything that Portnoy's touched in, that's probably a meme stock. You got MicroStrategy, Carvana down here. So if you're looking for a list, this is one that again they're doing.
Where do we find? Can we find that list online?
Yeah,
or
it's
no?
quiverquant.com. I'll put the link in the chat.
Quiverquant.com. We've had them on the show, haven't we?
I've had them on
I feel like they've
Benzinga.
been on our show too.
Yeah, it's
Who runs that?
QuiverQuant?
They're younger. It's like a younger. They're like brothers. It's like younger kids. They're probably around my age. But all right, I mean, so this morning you have GameStop moving, but then I'm honestly surprised that some of the other ones aren't moving more. Like, what's AMC's?
I know.
What's
Well, AMC's up 11%. That's a big move.
Oh, that is a big move. Okay, so
yeah, so they're moving. So go through your list. AMC. I got a small position AMC I took just for trading, so because I thought it might go. So just full disclosure, Mara up 3.8%. That's going to move Bitcoin though, and Bitcoin's trading up. So SoundHound was one that was going, a few weeks ago, sold off substantially. Now it's starting to get lift up. Leave that list up there. Don't show the charts. I just more want to see the list. Charts don't matter on this kind of stuff, folks.
No.
RILY. That's one that was they had their own story, and that's been a wild child stock. IBRX is not trading higher, so I don't know that one. Save. That was a Portnoy pick, and I don't know if they can save this thing or not. We'll see. This is such a tough list because a lot of these stocks just are not fabulous companies. Tilray, we know that story there too. But do they get ignited for a day? Do they get ignited for a few days off of this? Maybe. GameStop's your leader, so naturally you see the AMC up 11%, so that one makes sense. But there's probably other ones too. So just all I'm saying is, if you go even to that highshortinterest.com, we've talked about that site before. Be careful if you're shorting that stuff, and if you short that stuff, it might not be a bad idea to cover.
Yeah, I saw AMC when I was looking at the moves. I saw up 34 cents, and I was like, "Oh, that's not that big of a move." I forgot that AMC is a $3 stock now, so it actually is 11% there. But
pretty big move.
Yeah, expect to see some increased volatility in the meme stocks today, and probably the rest of this week. I mean, I'm curious if maybe Roaring Kitty had maybe some advice from his because he had to testify to Congress and all this stuff. Maybe they told him hey, just be quiet, have a quiet period for a couple years or whatever. And now he's back. I did see on that tweet from Roaring Kitty, Rod Alsman, who, we've also had on Benzinga shows before. Rod Alsman does really good work. And, he ran GMEDD.com. And I think I was actually doing that before Roaring Kitty, was making his calls. And Rod Alsman was kind of saying, doing the fundamentals on GameStop, kind of this similar thing to what Roaring Kitty was doing, saying, hey, there's underlying value here that people aren't recognizing. So maybe if this GameStop story continues to be crazy this week, we can get Rod Alsman on for 5 minutes or so to talk about it. But all right, we'll keep watching
we'll
this.
Come back to this when Anthony
we'll come back
on here. This is kind of, up his alley a little bit just to talk about as well. So let's get his thoughts on all this memester just perking back up here too. But there's other headlines here too, folks. So let's go.
Yeah, let's go to Apple and OpenAI here. So Apple is trading higher this morning by about $2.25 on news that Apple is close. Alphabet stock. This is Benzinga Pro. Alphabet stock dips as Apple reportedly moves closer to OpenAI pact. So I assume this means that Apple's working on integrating some of OpenAI's AI technology into its products, iPhones, MacBooks, etc. And we know that OpenAI, Microsoft is a big investor. Google was in talks with them, I guess, about integrating some of the technology into Google's search. ChatGPT or OpenAI announced that they're putting out a Google competitor at some point in the next week or I think I'll come in the next couple of weeks. I saw that headline while I was out of town. But either way, a lot of people were worried about Google saying, oh my God, now people are going to start using ChatGPT. I was always saying the stuff you use ChatGPT for is different than what you would use Google search engine for. But if OpenAI puts out a search engine that's more targeting like what Google does, that could be a big deal for Google. I don't think, the end of the world for Google, but definitely could be not the best news for them.
I mean, when ChatGPT first came out, Google got hammered. And, and I think some of it's there. Like Microsoft has been trying to find a way to take on Google for a very long time. We know Bing was a failure. Just because the search engine is just not as well. But if people start ChatGPTing or, using other AI tools instead of search, it's not good news for Google. So it's not surprising to me that they do get hit on this. And it's actually very surprising. Google's bounced back as much as it has. We were down at $90 and we thought, when OpenAI is coming in here and ChatGPT, this is going to take a hit to Google's monopoly that they have over there. Well, that story still could happen. But the stock has went from 90 to 170. So I'm just, staying away from Google for now here. They've been rumored they were going to buy, HubSpot. There was some rumors, and the different things happening there. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons to just maybe be taking profits in Google. It's near the all-time highs. I think at this point in time, I'm just staying away from Google because I don't really know how the fallout happens here. I don't know. There's arguments to be made that their monopoly is in jeopardy here and on search. And they basically have a monopoly on search. So, Joel, what are your thoughts? I mean, Google sitting here near all-time highs, pulling back $3 here this morning. But if I was sitting on this, it just had a run up from 2023 where the stock has basically doubled. Maybe it's prudent to take profits here.
Did you notice that I was gone for a few minutes?
What were you doing?
Oh man,
he was practicing his darts.
I'm about to blow a gasket here because my generator failed the city inspection, and so the generator guy had to come out. He was out here for 4 hours on Friday, hooking things up, and he obviously didn't hook something up right because
lost power.
No, I didn't lose power, but I lost my internet.
Oh, so you're knocked down again.
Yeah, so he knocked me down. I don't know. The Gooster's down 358 on this news. I mean, as long as it holds 165 here, that was the gap up from earnings. I like it above 165. This back and forth with the AI, with Apple, Google, it's just hold 165. That's a good level. I haven't seen it yet in the pre-market. And then what's your old-time closing high here in Google? Old-time closing high. I'd be keeping an eye on that.
173.69.
Yeah, that's your resistance. So holding the earnings gap, let's hold 165.
And I think, Dennis, going back to when ChatGPT came out, and I find it here on the chart, I think it was right here, November, end of 2022, and Google stock was getting hit. I think part of it was, like you're saying, that people are worried that they're going to lose traffic to ChatGPT. But I think the other part of it was just that Google was seen as so far behind in the AI. Because if you recall, Google kind of rushed out and like a couple months later put out their Bard. And then during the Bard's, big like announcement, it like got things wrong, just looked completely incompetent compared to ChatGPT. So I think they were just saying like, oh my God, how did Google mess up and get so far behind this AI race? And the whole time I was like, this seems like an overreaction because we're in like the ceremonial first pitch. Not even the game hasn't even started in AI, and they're like absolutely punishing Google. And then of course you had people coming out and being like, oh my God, Google's AI is too woke, this and that. And the next thing you know, Google's at all-time highs. So
it came back. Yeah, the AI story came back into it. And just like the AI story, maybe this is a good segue because, well, we should talk the Apple chart here because the AI story here with Apple too has been reignited here. We get the headline here and obviously, it's knocking Google down a bit, but Apple's up another $2 here, AB.
No.
We're starting to get ignited. We know the valuation on Apple is kind of stretched, at 27, 28 times earnings, but we also know that a lot of these other, like Microsoft's trading 36 times earnings. If an AI story catches on with Apple, that can bring the stock back to all-time highs. And I think we're at a point. You've been bullish Apple, AB. I know you've been playing it from the long side a few times. The chart looks interesting to me, where we've gapped up and we held the gap. I think as long as it's above 180, I think bulls are in control here. It looks interesting to me.
And just in the last three sessions, you peaked out, or three out of the last four, just under 185. They're protecting that earnings day high of 187. So you're back above 185 here. It just seems like they won't, like they keep coming back with that AI mention. It's like they won't go away. And don't they have another event or announcement or something coming up, or do they already do that?
Apple has an event coming up. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
June? Is it June?
Yeah.
Maybe. Do you know when it is? I forget when it is.
I know they did like an event last week with the
They have one
iPad.
coming up.
Okay. We'll get the
I think it's June.
Joel, some people in the chat are complaining about my charts. Can we get your charts back up? Because they don't like the dark Benzinga Pro charts. What I'll say about Apple is my take on Apple right here is that I doubt we're going to see the growth that we're used to in Apple's stock, going up, 30% a year, whatever it is. But I think there's like a defined floor. Like I wouldn't see Apple drop it. I mean, you look at the chart here, clearly some support at around 165. Could we come back down there if tech, is weak or whatever? Sure. But I don't think we're going to see Apple like come, crashing down back to this like 130 or 125 level. I think the company's doing well enough at least to where like the current stock price makes sense. Again, do I think that means it's going to go to 250 anytime soon? No. Do I think it's going to be the best growth stock out there? No. But I think the company makes enough cash, is doing well enough. And then again, you do have on the back burner like the new iteration of these Apple products that will have more AI, could help drive demand. And so I think like, again, like I would be almost, I don't even know, like maybe, what is it, like strangling it, like selling calls and puts, saying like, I think it's just going to kind of trade in a range for a while, but that's just my prediction. I don't, not financial advice. All right, let's keep the headlines ticking. We do have more to talk about. We have, let's go to Intel real quick because we had some news that Apollo is doing an investment in Intel. This comes after Intel stock has gotten absolutely crushed the past few months. I mean, you look back just from the beginning of the year, at the start of 2024, Intel was a $51 stock. Now it's a $30 stock. Basically, almost cut in half here on Intel. Of course, some big warning, red flags during the company's last earnings report. But let's go over here to our news. So Intel in talks with Apollo for $11 billion to build plant in Ireland. Intel is also getting money from the Chips and Science Act here in the United States to build more plants. So they're making moves. It's just a lot of this, the benefits they're going to get from these new plants and stuff, I think are years and years down the road. And this market is kind of, like, what are you doing for me lately? Not what are you going to be doing for me in 5 years.
No, this market is all, about immediate gratification. It's been like that for a while here. We get all excited because there's a memester tweet, about somebody sitting up in a chair. And, Intel just, the headlines have all been bad. It's like, yo, you're talking about 2 years from now. I care about 2 years from now. I want to make a lot of money about something else 2 years from now. Tell me about it in 2 years. So, I mean, the immediate, as Intel's been a complete dog. I bought it. I thought it was washed out. Obviously, mistake, and what did I do wrong on that? Buying a stock in a downtrend, heavy downtrend. Bag holders everywhere in there, trying to think, oh yeah, there's value here. I'm going to put this in the long-term portfolio because it's good value here. It's trade. This market's about momentum. This market's about, the strong getting stronger and the weak getting weaker. That's always been the way here for a very long time in this market. You do have great support down 25. I mean, it's $30.
You're getting some people nibbling here. I mean,
sure.
And whether or not,
but you got a headline this morning, Joel.
And it's not up,
and it's giving it back again. It just can't hold gains. It's been the worst stock, man.
You know what? They got to stop getting all these billion-dollar deals. It just seems like they get billions here, billions there, and then it just goes down. Why don't they start saying no to it? And maybe the stock will go up. I mean, this is, you got your support here when you start, a little pop on good news and then it doesn't go anywhere. I think maybe if you want to take a stab here at 30, give yourself some room. I wouldn't write it down to 25, but I really don't think this thing can show any kind of life until you get back above the 32. Everyone's underwater that bought it on the last earning gap down. So buy it on strength if it ever gets there.
And I do think, I mean, I see
Tough
Larry
stuff.
Hill in the chat saying they're building a new plant in Ohio. Like, I do like these moves long term, onshoring some of these manufacturing jobs in a growing industry. I think that's like long overdue. And of course, you have the geopolitical side of it. That what during COVID we learned that it's not great to rely on China for all the semiconductors because semiconductors go into everything. So again, long term, like I think these are all good moves, but the market's not looking at what's happening going to be 5 years down the road. And so,
No,
I mean, something to watch right now, Intel, if it starts dipping more, I might start adding this to my long-term portfolio.
that's what I
Um,
thought 5 points ago.
well,
I was a little early.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, look, it's being early in the market is a lot of times like the same thing as being wrong, as we've learned.
One
Um,
thing though, and I've said before, it's true. If you're it's in trading, that is absolutely true. Absolutely true. In investing, you know what? If you're just in cash and not on margin and not buying options, just buying stock,
Mhm.
you can sit on those stocks for a very long time. And you know what? Some of my best trades, like when I bought Merck back at $32, this was back like 10, 12 years ago, and it was trading at 10 times earnings. I'm like, I just don't see myself going wrong here long term. That stock went down to like 23 on me. So it was like a terrible, like 32 to 23. It was like a year. And I'm like, but I just stuck it out. I was like, I believe, demographics, aging population, one of the best pharmaceutical companies in the world. I'm like, I'm just getting it at a pretty cheap price. Lilly was the same thing. I bought Lilly back at like $40 and I went down to 30. And I'm like, you held through, and you know what? In long-term investing, if you do find good value at reasonable valuations, you'll take heat. But sometimes these stories do turn around. I think the Intel story will eventually turn around. I think they will figure it out. But I tell you right now, it's painful.
Hey, just real quick before we move on, I know I think we got an upgrade in Nvidia. Look at this Lilly monthly
Somebody
chart
upgrade?
here.
No, nobody upgraded Nvidia. What do you mean?
Yeah,
No.
we had Jeffries assumes Nvidia at buy, raises price target to
Okay.
1,200. So Jeffries raises its price target this morning to 1,200 on Nvidia. I mean, Nvidia just is getting so much analyst love right now, and I think a lot of analysts are coming in and taking advantage of this recent dip and saying like, hey, we didn't call
Mm.
this move up to 1,000 when it was here, but now let's get in on it and call it up to 1,200 or call it up to 1,300 as we saw. Who was the one that raised their price target to 1,300 last week?
It's somebody, it seems like every other day.
HSBC, yeah, Goldman
Yeah.
Sachs gave it some love a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's really like, look, I mean,
Hype.
it's like
Yeah.
Nvidia is like the prettiest girl at the dance right now, and everyone wants to ask her to dance. Nvidia is like the still, even after its dip, the most loved stock on the market right now, and I think for good reason. Now, is that to say Nvidia can't drop from here a little bit? No, of course it can, but I think at any point when you see a dip on Nvidia, you'll have buyers coming in, at least for right now.
And we've seen that Thursday. We saw that, if we go back just a couple of weeks ago here, there's just underneath demand. We talk about overhead supply, but on this stock, there's just underneath demand. I still remain long
Right.
Nvidia, my core position. I've sold the extra shares because it's just been like, such a move here. But I've still got the core position in Nvidia, the stock that I bought at 410. I've said I think it could be the most valuable company in the world. I think it could go over $1,000. Is it going to go straight there? No. Is it going to be hiccups? Is there going to be competition coming for them? Sure. But with AI, with you saying it, AB, and I believe the same thing, that we're in the very early innings here. They're in the pole position. I mean, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So it's hard to bet against that.
And I mean, Dennis, like going back, like I said earlier, credit where credit is due. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, when Celsius reported earnings and was trading lower, you said, look, these stocks that have high retail interest like tend to bounce back on these
They do.
dips. And I think that's what makes Nvidia, so strong right now is you have not only the retail interest, but the institutional interest as well. I mean, how many money managers do you think out there, RIAs, people that, just manage people's money, have their clients calling them and saying, hey, why isn't there any Nvidia in my portfolio? And they're like,
Yep.
okay, well, next time it dips, I'll add some. So I think on both sides, from institutional and retail, you have this strong underlying demand for Nvidia to where, again, like I'd be comfortable buying any dip whatsoever here on Nvidia. Until like I'm proven wrong, and until like we get some a bad earnings report or some catalyst like that to make me like change my mind. I just don't see how this story is changing.
Yeah, it's hard to envision, all of a sudden, and not even that much because it's grown the earnings so much. So we've
No, I
talked
mean,
Nvidia lots on this
yeah.
show. You know where I stand on it. I think the story is still in the early innings for AI. The reason I stay along at least my core position in Nvidia.
You know what? I like the way this chart is set up here. I know we could
I
talk
do
about
too,
the
actually.
funnel. I mean, look at this. I mean, last month's high, and this is important. I mean, usually, I look at Nvidia and I'm like kind of scratch my head, but this stock is this chart's jumping out to me. Double top on the monthlies at the 922 area. So right there, man, that's the path to 950, 1,000, 1,500. And then you got really great support over the last, this 880 area over the last four sessions. So consolidation, you probably have earnings coming up in a couple weeks. People, trying to lighten up on both sides of the market. But that's a nice trading range there. And especially with the double monthly tops lining up at 922, we'll make that 4-star level on the upside. The only thing with Lilly, I looked at the monthlies and it's pausing. It's done this several times, right? It has a move and then a little pause and then a move and then a little pause. And now it's a major pause here, working on an inside month. So we'll see if they can continue this tremendous rally. But that $800 level looming large in Eli Lilly.
And Lilly and Nvidia were the drivers. We know for the last year they've been the drivers here in their respectable industries. And I have argued before that Lilly trades with Nvidia to a certain extent, at least, because it's this pure Momo, the leaders in their space. Nothing companies fundamentally zero to do with each other. But sometimes you can identify as relationships. And I see a lot of times when Nvidia's having a bad day, Lilly starts to roll over here too. So believe me when I say that a relationship won't last forever. But they're connected right now because they're both momentum players and a lot of retail players, a lot of people in those same stocks because of the stories, like this is the leader in weight loss and this is the leader in AI. And these are the themes we're investing in here. And when the one starts to get hit, it makes people nervous. One starts to go, it makes people excited. So don't kid yourself. Lilly consolidation station and Nvidia here as well. If Nvidia starts to break out and make new highs, Lilly probably follows suit. So really, I think Nvidia is the leader on Lilly right now, which sounds crazy, but I think it's true.
Crazy correlations.
And that's what my job is. As a trader, it's always been my edge has been to find new relationships before everybody else. And I tell you guys about them as well, when we discover new things working, and then we can make money off these new things that seem to work, like what the hell, with GameStop, it's got nothing to do with AMC, but it's everything to do with AMC because they're the two main meme stocks, and like you said, Beyond, obviously we don't have, Bed Bath and Beyond anymore. Me and Joel saw the poor store sitting beside us when we went out for dinner, vacant and empty there. But I mean, that we know like these things are connected through social media. And when social media, the same groups of people are buying those similar stocks, they can, they're all of a sudden connected, even though they're fundamentally nothing to do with each other. They're connected through social media.
I saw some people in the chat talking about Schwab. I honestly don't even, I guess here, I'll pull it up on Benzinga Pro to see the headlines. I guess Schwab was having some problems. People weren't able to log in here. Schwab was doing its integration with Thinkorswim. I saw someone in the chat saying they were able to get in their Schwab account. Someone in the chat saying they weren't. Schwab was trading lower, got down to like 75.37 this morning, popped back a few cents back up to 75.80. But let me know in the chat what's going on there, because you do see some, some higher volume this morning in the Schwab chart here. Jay Rice, were you able to get back into your Schwab account? Can't log in at Thinkorswim, they're saying still.
Oh,
I'll tell you, Schwab's made a nice recovery. When we're all waiting for this thing to, have all this bad debt and everything, and they kept on saying, no, we're okay.
It was a stretch for Schwab to even being going down like that. It was a stretch. There was obvious ones like some of the pure regional banks, but when there was a stretch to say that Schwab was, gonna fail, or Schwab, has all this, and exposure here. I mean, not like a regional bank that's loaning money, for 2% for 30 years. I mean, there was reasons, some of these other bank stocks, but they had it grouped in there. It has come back, Joel. To your point, it has come back very nicely here. Are we at a point here now where, you're kind of getting back to the point where it fell apart back in 2023? Kinda. So I'm like, if you're coming in here now, the easy money has probably been made. $80. Maybe there's room to 80 here, but again, it kind of makes me feel like Google too. You've just come back so far. Some of these stocks just had such big runs since October. It's hard to it's a 50% move in the stock since October. I mean, the easy money has been made on the long side, and that's why this market is positive. That's why the market's struggling to go higher here. And I think it can continue, but there's a lot of stocks that just have really big moves.
Going back to the KRE is getting back to that level, right? Where it's not quite though the scene of the crime. That's been that's actually close to the 60. But stocks that I picked up during that dive last April, Coal America, nice dividend, nice capital appreciation there. I just want to mention JP Morgan, crazy old JP Morgan, run up in the earnings. They absolutely slam it after earnings on a great report. And now you're right back at this $200 level. So if I had been eyeing the all-time high, 200.94, you're very close to that. The all-time closing high is 200.30. So potential breakout. JP Morgan, not your sexiest stock, but approaching all-time highs.
It is your sexiest stock in the banking sector, though. I mean, it's been the best. And again, when you're buying best of breed on dips, you're often rewarded. So, buying obviously stocks that are followed well on social media on dips. And again, you got to be careful. Good companies at reasonable valuations. If you got a story that's even better, like it's social media likes you, like the AI story we know has been the driver. I mean, that's even better. But you don't have that with JP Morgan, but you just have best of breed, and people just love this company.
Okay, hanging up near the highs of the pre-market session. Important thing to note, folks, we talk about the old Friday, Monday indicator, making the highs for the week on a Friday. Well, that's exactly what we did at 52.64. Haven't hit that in the pre-market yet, so very limited resistance, once you get above that. But that's what the bulls are shooting for here in the pre-market trading is last week's high.
Continuing on, Anthony's going to be on here in a few minutes here. The China trade I want to talk here for
yes,
Joel,
China.
because it has been ignited here. We know the last couple months, China started to perk up here, and everybody has been trying to call a bottom in China for eternity, and the stocks just continue to go lower, Well, you know what? 2024 has turned, and sometimes it's just a calendar that sometimes can turn these things. We got back down to where we were in October of 2022. And, the FXI has turned around here and led by probably Alibaba. And once again here this morning, Alibaba leading the charge. It reports earnings Tuesday. I talked about these stocks last week. Baba, Baidu, both going to report. Often have run-ups into the reports. So we're already seeing that. But there's a headline here, AB, this morning, driving the China stocks. And I know we got Anthony coming on here in a second, so we'll make it quick. What was that headline?
Bond sale. Yeah, big bond sale.
A huge, $125 billion bond sale to stimulate the economy. The first one since 2020, which was, of course, done to boost the economy during the COVID pandemic. But we'll get back to China in a few minutes. Sure. I do see Anthony Scaramucci hanging out backstage. Let's go ahead and give Anthony our special pre-market prep welcome, see what he's been watching when we get back, talking about his new book, crypto, etc. He's a guy that's got expertise in a lot of different areas. So we're excited for our first time guest today. Again, Anthony Scaramucci. So, Anthony, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm sorry I'm in the back of the car. The traffic is brutal here trying to get into New York, so I'm a little late this morning. But just a quick thing on the Chinese situation. That bond sale actually went off pretty well. So I think they know to enter the capital markets, if they want to get deeper into the capital markets, they've got to tone down some of the Cold War rhetoric with the U.S. So I think that's good news globally, frankly.
I mean, Anthony,
good news. It's good news for Taiwan as well, guys. You can't sell bonds and declare war with Taiwan at the same time. See what I mean?
I mean, we've argued on this show for a while that these Chinese stocks, have been held down just because of geopolitical risk. I mean, if you took that geopolitical risk away, there's a lot of these names over here that are trading at very attractive valuations here, Anthony. So could this, be the start of something better for China?
It's really hard to know. I mean, I think we all got President Xi wrong. I mean, meaning U.S. government, business leaders, the intelligence community. But there could be people more moderate and practical on the inside that are just explaining to him, I know you have goals of reattaching Taiwan and having more control over business leaders, but you're going to implode the entire economy if you continue on that course. So this is a change. This is a fairly significant change in direction. So, I mean, listen,
Mm.
it would be good for Chinese stocks, obviously, and it would obviously be good for the U.S. economy if we could calm this down.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, too, I mean, Anthony, you've got some expertise in the political space. China is still our biggest business partner. I mean, so how big is that risk? I mean, outside of if China does invade Taiwan, is there, is there risk there that we're going to see more fallout? Or do you think these signs that she is being more business friendly is a sign that, hey, our business relations with China are going to be fine for the, future in the interim?
So I'm on the opposite side. I don't see
Okay.
how they can invade China. I mean, you probably know this. There were U.S. implemented war games over the last 2 weeks in the area. We have force capability, military capability that still eclipses China, even though China, quote unquote, may have a larger field army than us. They just don't have the technology or the naval capacity at this point to take Taiwan. So, but I think even more important than that, you've got such internal problems inside China right now. That's another reason because they can't close them. They can't have what happened to Russia happen to China in a potential invasion of Taiwan. So I don't see that happening. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. Obviously, 50 years from now, will Taiwan be reattached to China? I think if you're a smart person, you look at that and say that's probably very likely. But I don't think it's going to happen by force inside the next 5 years. It's just even if they wanted to do it, I don't think they have the capability of doing it. And the combination of the economic sanctions and the firepower up against them is going to stop them from doing that.
Got it. Anthony, I got the pleasure to meet you briefly at the SALT conference a couple years back in New York, and just hearing you speak, I've been fascinated by your career. And I know you founded Skybridge Capital in 2005, just a couple years before the Great Recession. I mean, like, what lessons did you learn running a capital management investment firm during the Great Recession, as it felt like the whole industry was like falling apart? I mean, I'm sure you had days where you were wondering, are we going to make it? Are we going to survive? What was that like at the time? And again, what lessons have you learned,
So,
surviving that?
so I'm going to betray my age here and tell you that I got smoked. I mean, I got literally killed in 1998. And so
Okay.
it's 26 years ago, but it's as fresh today as if the wound was cut this afternoon or this morning. And just to remind everybody, there was a Taiwan bot crisis, and there was a crisis in Korea to the point where the Korean government asked the Korean citizens to bring their gold jewelry to the treasury to be melted down. This is how vicious the
Wow.
crisis was in Asia. The Russians defaulted on their bonds. Okay. And there was a company called Long Term Capital Management that went belly
Ouch.
up, and they forced a bailout by the Fed forced a bailout by the investment banks. This is 26 years ago. I got destroyed in that. I think I 35% of my fund, and I was near bankruptcy for my company. And the reason I'm bringing
Wow.
that up is that scared the daylights out of me. So by 2008, I had no leverage, and my risk management strategy was the anti-M strategy. Did you guys watch The Wizard of Oz? You
Yep.
remember The Wizard of Oz? Any of you? Okay.
Yeah, Mike. I
So
got young
Dorothy
kids.
got all right. So Dorothy got hit in the head with the house after the tornado threw the house around. But Auntie M, she went into the basement. She locked the storm door and went into the basement. So 2008, that's where I was. And I'll tell you something right now. If I didn't get destroyed in 1998, that probably would have put Skybridge out of business. The company I left to form Skybridge was Lehman Brothers. Imagine me sitting there in 2008 and well, I've left Lehman to start Skybridge, but Lehman's going to go out of business and Skybridge is going to last, at least for right now, 19 years. Hopefully we'll be here again next year. But the point I'm making is that you don't know what's going to happen. I've had a couple of near-death experiences. Last year at this time, Bloomberg, I guess there's a woman over there that thought we were going out of business because we had bad performance. She wrote a financial obituary of us. But, she underestimates our resilience. And we, I think we're up. I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell my performance, but
Sure.
let me just put it to you this way. She wrote that article when Bitcoin was at 17,000. And a third of our assets are in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's now at 62 or 63,000. So newsflash, we didn't go out of business, and we went on to have probably the best performance of our career. So, what are the lessons there? Don't use leverage, and stay in high conviction strategies, and never, under any circumstances, give up. And under any circumstances, those are the lessons.
Great.
Well, it looks like you use them well. I was watching you during the whole FTX debacle and stuff, and so you were kind of doing a replay of what happened before, but like you really had to stick it out there. And what other tools did you use? What other lessons had you learned? Maybe some people that you knew in the industry, because that was major. I mean, it pulled
Now, how do you
down.
stay convicted through
Yeah,
that? Like with Bitcoin,
like
how do you stay
taking the
convicted?
heat, Anthony. How'd
And
you
you
take
did.
all that heat?
Well, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, listen, it's a great conversation. I mean, the first thing is, what if you have no choice? Okay, what if you have all your family members relying on you and your company, and you really don't have a choice? So you have to, it's like what Winston Churchill had: when going through hell, keep going. I mean, you don't really have a choice. Number one. Number two, the Sam thing is tragic to me on so many different levels because had he been more organized or had better business operations and less, I guess he had a little bit of a God complex and thought he could move stuff around illegally and be okay. But if, this kid would have been worth 40 or $50 billion, all of that stuff came back. And the bankruptcy estate is now telling people they're getting 100 cents on the dollar plus some interest related to wage money back. So, and yet this kid is going to spend 25 years in jail due to what he did. So there's a huge tragedy there. But I think the number one thing you have to do when something goes that wrong is face the music. I just want you to imagine I'm announcing September 2022 that Sam has bought 30% of our company, and we're going to go out and build a great digital asset management business together. And then November, 9 short weeks later, I've got to go back on CNBC and say that, Sam's going bankrupt, likely going to jail,
Wow.
and he owns 30% of my business. So I went from hero to zero in 9 short weeks. But if you have a high profile, you have to own this stuff. You can't walk away, and you have to go into the music. And so I told people honestly what happened. But here's, you have a lot of young people listen to this show. It's a great show, and a lot of young people listen. So what I would tell young people, keep your integrity, because if you have integrity and you have a situation like that, which happened to me in Skybridge, there is always opportunity. When I got fired in the White House, one of the best things that happened to me were the phone calls that came in from friends of mine in the industry or in politics to say, hey, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? You've always been there for me. And so I think the big lesson for people is keep your integrity, be honest about things. And when you're making mistakes, if you own them, in a country like this, you get a lot more opportunity. F. Scott Fitzgerald once said that there are no second acts in American life. He got so many things right with The Great Gatsby and This Side of Paradise, and it's a great literary figure, but he got that wrong. There are many second acts in America, and but What Americans don't like are losers and liars. They don't like that. So if you're lying and losing, that's not good. You can lose, but you got to be honest with people.
Anthony, I mentioned I was at Salt a couple years ago, and it was the year that you guys actually announced a partnership with FTX, and I was in the press room when you were talking about it. I don't know if you remember this, but you made a comment at the time where you said, essentially, I'll paraphrase, you said, "Well, Sam Bankman-Fried's a capitalist, so I don't think he's Mother Teresa or anything like that," which that has just always stuck with me, of course, and everything that happened subsequently is just like, well, so I don't know if that was some foreshadowing there by you or not, but I want to move over to like overall market right now. We know that crypto and Bitcoin tend to trade with the overall market S&P 500. I mean, how do you feel about both right now? Like, are you still as bullish Bitcoin as you were when it was at 30,000? Are you still are you bullish on the overall market? And would you rather be buying one or the other right now?
So, I mean, Bitcoin at 60,000 with a halving and the trying to get camera position here. With the halving, BlackRock, Fidelity, the ETFs, I'm more bullish at 60,000 than I was at 30,000. I do believe that you guys are correct in saying that Bitcoin is now perceived as a risk asset. Fed cuts rates, Nasdaq goes up, Bitcoin goes up. Fed's raising rates or holding steady. Nasdaq goes down, Bitcoin goes down, and that's for now. I see it as an early adopting technical asset. You only have 4.8% of the globe in Bitcoin. That's akin to Web 1 in 1999. And I would just tell you, look at the Web 1 volatility of stocks like Amazon, eBay, et cetera, back in 1999. As things are adapting and scale, and I predict Bitcoin will scale, you'll see a situation where Bitcoin has 1 billion users. The value of that network will be exponentially larger, and Bitcoin will be at $150,000. And let me just frame that for you, because if you're a gold enthusiast and gold is trading at a $16 trillion market cap, well, Bitcoin at $150,000 is only 1/3 of the market capitalization of gold. So there are so many reasons why, if you hold your position in Bitcoin, in my opinion, fundamentally, you'll do very well. And a lot of people don't understand Bitcoin. I find that I hang out with a lot of 60-year-old white males, primarily because I am a 60-year-old white male. They don't understand Bitcoin. And when they talk negatively about it, I find that they haven't done any research. They've just decided that they don't like it because it's outside of traditional norms. And I think that's a danger as well. So it may not be me and my generation, but there are 20-year-olds right now that are very comfortable with digital assets, very comfortable with Bitcoin. And in 20 years, they'll be in their 40s and they'll own tons of Bitcoin. And so for those reasons, so many more, I'm more bullish today than before. And by the way, I haven't sold one position. And we are also participants in this Mt. Gox bankruptcy settlement, which we're hoping to receive more Bitcoins middle to late this year. And we'll hold those as well. So if you own it, I would stay in it. And if you don't own it, I think you got to buy some, and you have very easy access to it now with these ETFs.
Anthony, I want to move over to this memester conversation here because we have saw GME start to get ignited here over the last week or two. Today, GME is up 42% because we have Roaring Kitty tweeting for the first time in 3 years. I'm not sure how closely you follow this story here anymore with GameStop and everything. Obviously, it was the big talk 2 years ago, the movie and everything, but this is his first tweet in 3 years. And all he tweeted was a picture of somebody just sitting up in their chair. And all of a sudden, that's enough to ignite GameStop 41%. Does this mean the memester trade starts here again, or is this just a one and done? What are your thoughts here on the memester trade and GME?
So again, you had a couple of things happening. You got the induction of a lot of monetary policy stimulus during COVID, after COVID, and then you got the fiscal side of the equation.
Uh-oh, looks like we lost Anthony. Should be popping back in here in a second. But it's been a great conversation so
Yeah, it
far.
has.
And Anthony's got he's again, his career has just been fascinating, going from Goldman Sachs, starting Skybridge. Mentioned he was at Lehman as well, and then of course his stint in the White House. All right, here we got him back real quick. Let's go ahead and pop him back on. All right, you're back, Anthony.
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I think I got
No
knocked
problem.
off, but what I was saying is your monetary fiscal policy dumping liquidity, plus this whole Reddit phenomenon, it coagulated in this bee swarm mentality led by him primarily. And if you get
Oh, it's just getting good. I like the bee swarm analogy too.
Yeah.
He's
I
got
like
all
that.
the analogies
I like the
here.
Wizard
This
of
is
Oz
good.
reference going back to my day.
Yeah,
Going
I
back-
love the bee swarm. That's what it was. It was like a bee swarm. They were just attacking these stocks, man. Like, and they all got hot, and then they all started going. And I mean, everybody's waiting for that to happen again. That's what, you've got people sitting back, waiting on these shares. And, obviously they come down a long ways. They're like, well, it's going to ignite again, and I'm going to get my money back. I mean, there's this thought process here. So anyways,
All right, one last time. I want to try. Do we got him here? Do we got him back?
Third time's the charm here. We've got
He's
Anthony.
got
I'm going to
it.
wait for his camera to pop back
It's hard
on.
when you're in motion there.
Yeah,
Maybe he can hear us. Can we see if he can hear us? Can I see us?
Let's see if we can get some audio if the camera's not. Anthony, can you hear us? All right, I'll keep him backstage until we see that that camera pops back on. But yeah, I mean, a great speaker. Obviously a lot of knowledge in the investment space as well. So we like bringing on first time guests on this show, and this morning's Anthony Scaramucci it's been a great conversation. So hope you guys have enjoyed it so far.
We're so knowledgeable. I mean, even going back to talking about 1998, obviously, Joel started 50 years before that because he's old, but that's right when I started. It was 98, like 97, 98, and you do learn lessons. Like talking about the lessons, like I learned a lot of lessons in the tech bubble burst, because a young trader, was 23 years old, and all these stocks just go up no matter what. You're just buying, there was a million, different internet companies. If you had, 10 employees and an internet website, you're worth $1 billion. I mean, there's bubbles that come and there's bubbles that go. And, some are sustainable, and then some last longer than you think. And then some end quickly. The memesters were in that bubble where we were 2 years ago. All these stocks got into a bubble, and these stocks started to go, and he was going to get to a point like the bee swarm mentality of just, I've got to get in there. My buddy's in there. I got to be in there too. And everybody's making money. And I don't care what it does. This game stuff, this is a movement. We're getting in here. So it's crazy, how that can just, and I think we really underestimated retail 2 years ago too, how much they could really drive price. So it was a lesson for a lot of, traders who have been on the street for a long time. That, we've always kind of said, oh, retail, retail, the dumb money. Well, you know what? Retail actually in that case was, doing pretty well.
Yeah, and I wonder too, I mean, if there's like anything to back up the idea that if you go through one of these kind of like big events early on in your trading career, that you'll actually be able to last longer. Like I started trading, I kid you guys not, in February of 2020 before the COVID crash. And then the COVID crash happened.
Next month.
The next month, and I was like, okay, like, oh, this is normal, to see the market. I remember days where the S&P 500 would open down 7% and immediately halted. Like the whole market was halted, like at the market open, and I didn't know because I just started how rare that was. And then after a couple months, I was still trading, and the market was back at all-time highs. And I think what I learned through that was just like how quickly the narrative can change, how if everyone else in the world is bearish because the economy is shut down and stuff, sometimes the market doesn't care and the stocks are going to go up anyway. So like looking back on it, like I gained a lot of experience and learned a lot about the stock market in like 3 months from February to May of 2020. And, I think that will help me stay in the markets for longer than if I had just started during like a, 10-year bull period.
Yeah, I wanted to, I mean, just
Joel, tell your story. From when you started.
I mean,
we joke he was 50 years ago, but it was, and we like to joke about Joel started right before the 87 crash.
Yeah, yep. And they came and they pulled people off the floor unless you had 100K in your account to trade. And that there were days literally in that pit on that one day where we talked about Shearson. We could tell all these stories, but I mean, literally, what, like you look at the S&P bid, it like right now 5260 bid. Of course, these are exaggerated numbers. It was 5260 bid for size on one side of the pit, and it was 50, let's call it 5200 offer on the other side of the pit. The markets were so chaotic, and guys were just going,
Wow.
just trying to go buy sold, just grabbing the order fillers, pulling them by their hair, pulling them by their tie. And just to do that instant arbitrage, now you had to be pretty big accounts to get involved in that. But I want to get Anthony back sometime, or else we got to email him a question,
We'll get him
because
back.
what I want to know, and we almost got to it, is like he's had these different experiences, right? Being in the markets, 98, 2008, and where we're at now, like as far as like the Great Recession. I mean, the thing that we've talked about, the biggest debate on this show for the last couple of years, is the impending recession, the impending doom. Rising interest rates are going to kill this market. And one guest came on and like totally ridiculed me for saying, what about a soft landing? Well, we've not already had a soft landing, man. We've come in and we're still staying afloat. So we got to get him back and see where
Yeah,
are
we
we
will.
at? Where are we at in this economy? I see AB just bolted here. I don't know if
He's
he's
in
going to
back.
be
I'm
coming.
back.
AB's here.
I was shooting an email over to their team real quick. Over to
Okay.
Just
Anthony.
seeing if we can get him back today. It may not be today,
Yeah, I
but
was
we'll
gonna
get
say
Anthony back on.
I was gonna say if he's like rolling into the office right now, that maybe we could keep the show going for a couple extra minutes, because
Me and Joel keep the show going forever.
yeah, Anthony does have it, which we might have some news, on that. Stay tuned, little teaser there. But Anthony does have a new book coming out called From Wall Street to the White House and Back. So, again, if you want to learn more about Anthony's story, learn about his expertise, not only in the investment side, the political side. I mean, we know how closely like those two camps like work hand in hand a lot, and I think Anthony's a good example of that, going again from experience at Goldman to running his own thing to being a cabinet member to go back to Wall Street. So again, if you like today's conversation, go check out Anthony's new book, From Wall Street to the White House and Back. All right, it is 9:02. Wow, we're already over here real quick. All right, so let me shoot this email real quick, and then I'll give them like a couple minutes to respond. Otherwise, we'll wrap up the show for today. But I'll pop your charts back up on the screen.
I mean, we should talk the memester trade here again. GameStop now up 39%. It's going to be wild, folks. These stocks are going to be wild. We know they're going to move. AMC is trading up 16% here now. Think about the other ones, like the Bed Bath & Beyond has gone off the board, correct? Like we're no BBYQs. Like
it's BYON.
Its assets got bought by BYON. So
it's called Beyond Inc. I mean, you're missing a couple B's.
And I'm trading some of these stuff here now. So, I'm just playing around like the BYON. I've just, it's just started doing a little position here too, because I don't know if things down here near the lows, maybe this one gets ignited here too. So, I'm just looking at all these different memester stocks here right now, thinking maybe this morning, maybe it gets ignited, maybe it fails. We've seen this before where they one goes up and then, they pop off the open and they get a little bit of love and then they just come in. But, this GameStop's been moving here for a few days here now.
All right. The reason I'm being a little bit quiet on this, and AB, you asked about the fun show on Friday. Well, we had a big stock move in, and I just want you to know that I'm retiring from making my proclamation of walking down to the office on the Lodge Freeway on my hands. Thanks to Daniel Roeder. It didn't get there. It got to 11, and then it failed. So
I went long. I tried to go long. I was like, I'm on board just because I want to see Joel do this. I bought like a tenth of a size position, very small. I bought it at like 10, I don't know, 10:30 or something like that. It actually went to 11. And I was like, ooh, this is going pretty good. And then I tweeted out where I'd stop out, and it was 9:50 or 9:60. And I got stopped out on the trade. It fell off later in the afternoon, but it would have been fun to see.
So there'll be I can show you the pre-market chart, but there will be no such proclamations ever again on the pre-market show about, I can't even walk on my hands.
You were nervous there for a few minutes.
I was going to ask, Joel, I mean, we know you're a big swimmer, so your shoulders are all jacked from doing the butterfly. Have you ever been able to do a handstand at least?
I I do not have good coordination. I can't even stand up on a skateboard. When we went to Hawaii and Israel, we went surfing. I was like, I'm a good swimmer, but when it comes to that hand-eye coordination, no can do. No can do. I could walk down there, and that would be plenty dangerous, but no, not good at that.
All right. I see some people in the chat saying Nvidia is leaking here. So, Bloomberg Nvidia. So let's see if we got a headline real quick.
You're seeing separation here, and remember my correlations. Apple trading higher, usually not good news for Nvidia. There's just been this
Okay,
negative correlation
here's
that
that.
persists. They buy everything overnight, can't help themselves, and then starts to separate. So, but maybe there's a headline here. It has leaked off substantially. It's down to about $6 from where it was trading just a few minutes ago. So it's probably a headline.
Yeah,
but remember the negative correlation, folks.
Headline is that Chinese regulators tell local tech firms to buy fewer Nvidia chips. That's coming from the information. So Nvidia taking a slight hit on this, or actually a decent hit, going from 907 to 901. That's a big hit there. And what I was gonna say earlier when I was talking about Nvidia, like, I think any dip will be bought. If I wanted to play devil's advocate with myself, what I would say,
to do that.
Yeah, it is fun to do that. Is what I would say is that as all these companies, tech companies, ramp up, their AI capacities and buy Nvidia chips, I think we could hit a point in the near term where like they have enough chips before they don't know what to do with all of them, because we're still waiting for some of the AI integrations to work themselves out to figure out where exactly we're going to use AI, how do we use it. So I still think like the demand long term for Nvidia chips will always, for the next 10 years will keep growing. But I think in the near term, like in the next couple of years, there could be a point where companies actually do have enough chips because they have the chips, and then they're waiting for the AI technology itself to kind of catch up with what they need. So that'd be like the only potential downside I would see to Nvidia at
well, we've talked about the potential for pull forward, and that's what you're really talking about here. Is everybody's bought these chips in anticipation of the huge movement,
and then they're waiting for
and maybe the movement doesn't happen. I mean, everybody's getting into this. I have a good friend of mine that works at Lululemon, and he's in charge of the AI division at Lululemon. And he's got the team under them. You don't think of Lululemon as an AI company, but they're every company that's big has got to be building into this, and they're looking at, how they can, become an AI company and more integrated in that, so there's pull forward happening here too. And some of these companies are going to succeed in AI, and some of these companies aren't going to succeed, with AI. So there's going to be, hiccups down the road. But everybody is right now thinking, how can we become an AI company? Even if you're nothing to do with AI, everybody's trying to figure it out. So there is definitely some pull forward here, and that is the risk for Nvidia.
All right, I haven't gotten word back yet from Anthony's camp, so we'll just try to bring him on at some point again in the future.
Sure.
Thank you to Anthony and his team for helping organize that. We loved having him on. So again, hopefully we'll be able to get him back on at some point. All right, 9:08 a.m. Any final thoughts today, guys? And then we'll wrap up today's show.
Memesters will be memeing. At least this morning, we're seeing them meme. So again, careful on the high short interest names. Obviously, the two that come to mind are the GameStop and AMC. Like I said, I have a small position in AMC, just playing it as day trade because I figured it would start to lift off GameStop, and that has absolutely occurred. I intend to sell that today at some point in time. So.
Nice setup going into the open. I mean, last week's high right here, 52.64, at least for the S&P. Look at your relative stocks and where they traded on Friday. And let's see if we get that follow through from that strong day on Friday, the end of the week, 52.64. I don't have much daily, weekly, or monthly resistance above that. We do have some catalysts later in the week, right? We have the PPI and the CPI coming out. I believe they're sneaking the PPI out ahead of that, but we'll have T3 Tuesday tomorrow. We'll talk to those kind gentlemen. I don't know if they have any ladies over there at T3, and then our boy Blue, he'll be back here on Wednesday. So we got a nice setup here for the week, and thanks for tuning in this morning, Aaron. Glad to have you back. Triple D, nice shirt there, and thanks for joining us.
Just for Anthony.
Yep, on the pre-market prep.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, we'll be back tomorrow again, T3 Tuesday. Make sure to tune in, 8 a.m. Eastern, as always. Happy trading today, guys. Stay green. And, like Dennis said, watch out for those meme moves because we are back on the move. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.